Captain Geo Park stood at attention on the bridge of the unwavering truth trying not to fidget under Commander Drall's cold stare. The 7-foot-tall Suvian commander's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of irritation that Jiho had learned to recognize during his 6 months as the first human exchange officer on the Galactic Confederation flagship. "Explain your actions, Captain Park," Drall said, his translator making his voice sound flat and mechanical. "The diplomatic protocols were clear, yet you chose to ignore them." Jiho took a deep breath. The Moran delegates were showing signs of distress. Their ear flaps were twitching, and they kept touching their throat pouches. "Our sensors detected no physiological abnormalities," Drall replied. "With respect, Commander, those weren't physical problems. They were cultural signals. When I offered them the blue drink instead of the green one in the protocol, I wasn't guessing. I noticed patterns in their behavior that matched something I saw in an old mission report." Drall's skin rippled, the Suvian equivalent of a dismissive snort. That report was from a minor diplomatic incident 12 years ago. It is statistically impossible that you recalled such a detail at the precise moment it became relevant. Around them, the alien bridge crew pretended not to listen, but Jiho knew they were all paying attention. This wasn't the first time his human intuition had saved a mission, and it wouldn't be the last time Drall dismissed it as blind luck. "The Moran ambassador himself thanked us for avoiding what would have been a grave insult," Jiho said. "The green drink symbolizes death to their central colony because of a toxic alga bloom last season. That information wasn't in our updated protocols, because it was deemed irrelevant by our cultural analysis algorithms," Drall countered. "The probability of that specific cultural taboo affecting this specific diplomatic meeting was calculated at 0.37%. Jiho fought back a smile. And yet, it did matter. The tall commander turned away, his long fingers tapping rapidly on his control panel. "You may return to your duties, Captain. Your luck has been noted in the mission report." As Jiho walked away, he heard the science officer, Trell, whisper to Drall, "That is the 7th statistically improbable success by the human officer this quarter. Perhaps we should." "It is random chance," Drall cut in. "Humans simply remember their successes and forget their failures, creating an illusion of pattern where none exists." Later that day, Jiho sat alone in the ship's observation deck, watching the stars streak by as the massive vessel traveled through hyperspace. The door hissed open behind him. "Is this seat taken?" asked a voice. Jiho turned to see Hana Choi, one of the few other humans aboard. As the ship's assistant engineer, she rarely left the engine decks. "All yours," Jiho said, gesturing to the empty chair. Hana sat down with a sigh. "I heard about what happened with the Moran delegation." "Nice catch." "Thanks. Not that it matters. Drall still thinks it was dumb luck." Hana laughed, the sound oddly comforting after hours of hearing only the precise, measured tones of alien voices. "Same thing in engineering. Last week I rerouted power through the secondary couplings during that ion storm because it felt right. Saved 3 decks from losing life support. Chief Engineer Zax ran 16 simulations afterward to prove I should have failed." Jiho smiled. "But you didn't." "Nope. They called it luck." She tapped her temple. "We know better." Their conversation was interrupted by the ship's communication system. "Captain Park, report to Commander Drall's private quarters immediately." Jiho raised an eyebrow. "That's new. He never invites anyone to his quarters." When Jiho arrived, he found Drall reviewing data screens filled with mission reports. "Captain," Drall said without looking up, "I have reviewed your service record. 23 instances of critical decision-making that defy our predictive models. 23 successes." "Yes, sir." Drall finally turned to face him, all 4 eyes focused intently. "I am a scientist, Captain. When data contradicts theory, it is the theory that must be examined." His long fingers steepled together. I have submitted a formal research request to Confederation Command. I wish to study this human intuition of yours under controlled conditions. Jiho stood straighter. You don't think it's luck anymore? I am. Uncertain, Dral admitted, the words clearly difficult for him. But I intend to find out. Dr. Yoonji Kim frowned at the data request that flashed on her screen. She pushed a strand of dark hair behind her ear and read it again. The message had come directly from the Unwavering Truth the Confederation's flagship, marked as high priority. Human intuition study, statistical anomalies, decision-making processes, she muttered as she scrolled through Commander Dral's detailed request. Yoonji had spent 5 years on the science station Objective Analysis studying how different species made decisions. The station orbited a quiet star far from busy trade routes, perfect for uninterrupted research. Most of her alien colleagues believed human thinking was primitive, too emotional, too random. But Yoonji had always thought differently. Minho, she called to her assistant. Come look at this. Minho appeared at her doorway. He was younger than Yoonji, fresh from Earth's academy, still excited about working with aliens. What is it? He asked, leaning over her shoulder to read. Commander Dral wants to study a human officer whose intuitive decisions keep succeeding against all logical predictions. She couldn't keep the excitement from her voice. This is exactly what I've been saying for years. Minho's eyes widened. The Suvians are actually admitting they don't understand something. That's a first. Yoonji tapped her desk thoughtfully. Not admitting. Investigating. There's a difference. She stood suddenly. I'm going to volunteer to lead this study. This Captain Park could be the perfect test subject to prove my theory. What theory? Minho asked. That human luck isn't luck at all. It's pattern recognition happening faster than we can consciously process. Something alien minds don't do the same way. 3 days later, Yoonji stood nervously in the teleport bay of the Unwavering Truth clutching her case of equipment. The ship was enormous, at least 5 times larger than the science station, with ceilings high enough to accommodate the tallest Confederation species. A human woman approached, wearing the blue uniform of the engineering division. Dr. Kim. I'm Lieutenant Hannah Choi. Welcome aboard. Yoonji shook her hand gratefully. Thank you. It's a bit overwhelming. You get used to it, Hannah said with a smile. Commander Dral is waiting in the science lab. I should warn you, he's intense. When they reached the lab, Yoonji found herself facing the imposing Suvian commander. All 4 of his eyes focused on her at once, making her feel like a specimen under examination. Dr. Kim, Dral said, your research record is impressive for a human scientist. You believe you can explain Captain Park's anomalous success rate. Yoonji set her case down carefully. I believe I can study it properly, Commander. Whether human intuition can be explained in terms your science will accept remains to be seen. A tall human man in a command uniform entered the lab. Yoonji recognized him immediately from the files. Captain Jiho Park. You asked to see me, Commander. Jiho said, then noticed Yoonji. Oh, I didn't realize we had a visitor. This is Dr. Yoonji Kim, Dral explained. She will be conducting the research on your decision-making processes. Jiho raised an eyebrow. So I'm officially a lab rat now. A test subject, Dral corrected. There is a difference. Yoonji stepped forward. Captain, I've been studying cognitive processes across species for years. What you call intuition, and what others call luck, might be something far more interesting. Like what? Joe asked. Like a way of thinking that processes thousands of variables simultaneously instead of sequentially. A different kind of intelligence that most Confederation species don't recognize because it's so unlike their own. For the first time, she saw interest spark in Jiho's eyes. You really think that's possible? He asked. I do, Yoonji said firmly. And with your help, I intend to prove it. Commander Dral made a sound that the translator didn't catch. The testing will begin tomorrow. Dr. Kim will have access to our simulation chambers and neural monitoring equipment." As they left the lab, Jiho turned to Yunji. "Do you really think you can prove this isn't just luck?" Yunji smiled. "Captain, in my experience, when something keeps happening against all odds, it's never just luck. The data always tells a different story, if you know how to listen." The simulation room hummed with energy as Yunji adjusted the neural sensors on Jiho's temples. The captain sat still, though she could tell he was nervous. "Will this hurt?" he asked. "Not at all," Yunji assured him. "These just read your brain activity. Think of it like taking a picture of your thoughts." Commander Drail stood nearby with Lieutenant Hana and 3 other alien officers, a Vexel with green skin, a tall, thin Nari, and a squat Bolian with tough, gray skin. All had volunteered to participate in the experiments. "Each of you will face the same tactical scenarios," Yunji explained. "I'll monitor how your brains process information and make decisions." The first test began. Jiho found himself in a virtual space station during an emergency. Air was leaking, systems were failing, and he had to evacuate civilians before time ran out. Yunji watched as he worked, not just following procedures, but constantly scanning his environment. He noticed small details, a child's dropped toy, a flicker in the lights, the way smoke moved through a corridor, and used them to make quick decisions. When the simulation ended, Jiho had saved everyone with 2 minutes to spare. The alien officers took their turns. They followed protocols perfectly, made logical choices, and completed the mission successfully. But none finished as quickly as Jiho. "Interesting," Yunji murmured, studying the neural data. "Captain Park, your brain activated regions associated with memory, pattern recognition, and emotional assessments simultaneously. The others processed information sequentially." "Does that matter?" asked the Vexel officer. "We all completed the mission." "But in a real emergency, those extra minutes could mean lives," Hana pointed out. The tests continued for days. With each new scenario, the pattern became clearer. The alien officers excelled at problems with clear rules and procedures. But when situations became chaotic and uncertain, Jiho consistently found solutions they missed. After a week, Yunji called everyone to the science lab to show her findings. "Look at these brain scans," she said, displaying colorful images on the large screen. When faced with complex problems, Captain Park's brain lights up in multiple areas at once. He's processing dozens of variables simultaneously. She switched to another image. In contrast, Commander Drall's brain shows a powerful but sequential pattern. One piece of information after another, building to a conclusion. Commander Drall's skin rippled slightly. "And this difference explains the humans' intuitive leaps." "I believe so," Yunji said. "Humans evolved on a planet with unpredictable predators, weather, and tribal conflicts. We developed the ability to notice subtle patterns quickly, even if we can't always explain how we know what we know." Jiho leaned forward. "So I'm not just getting lucky." "Far from it," Yunji said with a smile. "Your brain is making connections faster than you can consciously track. What feels like a gut feeling is actually complex pattern recognition." The room fell silent as the aliens processed this information. Finally, Lieutenant Hana spoke up. "Dr. Kim, could you test me too? I've had similar experiences in engineering, knowing something was wrong before the sensors detected it." "Of course," Yunji said. "In fact, I'd like to test all humans aboard. My theory is that this isn't unique to Captain Park. It's a human trait that varies in strength between individuals." Commander Drall tapped his long fingers on the table. "If proven correct, this would require the Confederation to reconsider how we classify cognitive abilities across species." "Exactly," Yunji said. "Intelligence isn't a single measurement. Different evolutionary paths create different types of thinking, all valuable in the right situations." As the meeting ended, Jiho approached Yunji privately. "Thank you," he said simply. For what? For seeing something worth studying instead of dismissing it. Most aliens just call it luck and move on. Yoonji smiled. Sometimes the most interesting discoveries come from the anomalies others ignore. Tomorrow, we'll run more complex tests, if you're willing. Definitely, Gio said. I want to understand this as much as you do. Neither of them noticed Commander Droll watching them thoughtfully from across the room, all four eyes blinking in sequence, not in irritation this time, but in deep consideration. A loud alarm jolted everyone awake at 300 ship time. Red lights flashed in every corridor of the asterisk, unwavering truth asterisk. Captain Geo Park rushed to the bridge, still pulling on his uniform jacket. Status report. Commander Droll demanded as Geo entered. The ship's navigator, a vessel named Trex, spoke rapidly. Warp drive malfunction, Commander. We've dropped into normal space in an unmapped system. Geo looked at the main screen. A large, angry-looking star filled the view. Its surface churned with massive solar flares and dark spots. That star is highly unstable, said the science officer. Radiation levels are rising rapidly. Commander Droll remained calm. Follow emergency protocol TC-17. Restart warp engines using the backup systems. Sir, call the communications officer. Lieutenant Choi is reporting from engineering. The backup systems are not responding. Jiho felt a chill run down his spine. The massive ship was drifting closer to the unstable star. Without warp drive, they couldn't escape its gravitational pull quickly enough. The door to the bridge slid open, and Yoonji rushed in. What happened? She asked Jiho quietly. Warp drive failure. We're stuck near an unstable star, he whispered. Yoonji nodded and quietly set up her neural monitoring equipment in a corner of the bridge. Even in a crisis, she remained a scientist. Commander Droll was following Confederation protocols perfectly. He ordered power diverted to shields, sent repair teams to the engine room, and began emergency procedures. But Jiho noticed something the others missed. Commander, he said, the radiation pattern from that star isn't steady. It's pulsing. Droll glanced at him. That is irrelevant to our current emergency procedures, Captain. But Jiho couldn't shake the feeling that it mattered. He studied the sensor readings more carefully. The pulses come every 42 seconds, and each time, our shield effectiveness drops by 3%. Now Droll looked concerned. Explain. I think the radiation is in sync with our shield frequency. Each pulse weakens our protection a little more. Droll checked the readings himself. You are correct. But the standard protocols do not address this situation. The ship shuddered as another solar flare erupted. More alarms sounded. Engineering to bridge, came Hannah's voice over the comm system. Main power is failing. We have maybe 20 minutes before complete shield collapse. Jiho and Drell exchanged looks. The standard procedures would take at least 40 minutes to restart the warp drive. I have an idea, Jiho said, but it goes against all standard engineering protocols. Drell hesitated only briefly. Explain. If we deliberately create power fluctuations in our shields that counterpulse against the star's radiation, we might break the harmful resonance pattern. Then we can divert all power to a single emergency warp jump. That would leave us defenseless if it fails, Droll pointed out. For about 7 seconds, Joe agreed. But if it works, we'll break free. Droll stared at the angry star on the screen. Following standard procedures meant certain failure. The logical choice was to try the only alternative, even if it seemed risky. Do it, he ordered. Gio contacted Hannah in engineering. She understood his plan immediately. I was thinking the same thing, she said. We'll need precise timing. I can feel when the pulses are coming now. There's a slight vibration in the deck plates just before each one. Together, they implemented their risky plan. Yoonji monitored their brain activity the entire time, even as the ship groaned and systems failed around them. When the final moment came, Hannah called out, Now. The shields flickered off. 7 seconds of terrifying vulnerability followed as the warp drive powered up. Solar radiation bombarded the ship. Warning alarms screamed from every console. Then, with a lurch that knocked everyone off their feet, the unwavering truth jumped to warp speed. They had escaped. As the crew picked themselves up, Commander Droyle approached Geo. That, he said quietly, was not luck. 3 weeks after the near disaster, the unwavering truth docked at the science station objective analysis. Yunji had returned ahead of them, taking all her neural data to process with the station's powerful computers. Jiho and Hana walked down the long corridor to Yunji's lab. Crew members from many species nodded to them with new respect. News of their unorthodox solution had spread throughout the Confederation. "I'm nervous," Hana admitted. "What if Dr. Kim's analysis shows it really was just dumb luck? Then we go back to being the lucky humans," Joe said with a small smile. "But I don't think that's what she'll say." They entered a large circular room filled with holographic displays. Yunji stood in the center, surrounded by swirling patterns of light that represented brain activity. She looked tired but excited. "Captain Park, Lieutenant Choi." "Perfect timing," she said, waving them in. "Commander Droll is already here." The tall Suvian stood quietly in a corner, all 4 eyes focused on the data displays. "What did you find?" Joe asked. Yunji's face lit up. "Everything. Watch this." She pressed a button, and the room filled with a 3-dimensional replay of the crisis. They could see the unstable star, the ship, and overlaid on top, colorful representations of Jiho and Hana's brain activity. "This is when Captain Park first noticed the radiation pulses," Yunji explained. She slowed down the replay. "Look at his neural activity. Before he consciously recognized the pattern, his brain was already processing it." The display showed parts of Jiho's brain lighting up in quick succession. His visual centers noticed the subtle flicker in the shield strength indicators. His memory centers compared it to previous experiences. His pattern recognition areas connected it to the star's behavior, all in less than 2 seconds, mostly subconsciously. Commander Droll stepped closer. "And this is different from how other species process information." "Dramatically different," Yunji confirmed. "Your brain, Commander, processes one piece of information thoroughly before moving to the next. It's extremely accurate but sequential. Human brains make hundreds of partial connections simultaneously. Many are wrong, but the correct ones strengthen each other." She switched to Hana's data. Lieutenant Choi's engineering intuition works the same way. She felt the vibrations in the deck plates because her brain was processing tiny sensory inputs that most people, human or alien, would filter out. Hana looked surprised. "I didn't even realize I was doing that." "Exactly," Yunji said. "Much of this processing happens below conscious awareness. You feel the result as intuition or a gut feeling." Jiho crossed his arms. "So we're not just making lucky guesses." "Far from it," Yunji said. "You're processing thousands of variables simultaneously. Your conscious mind only receives the conclusion, not all the steps that led to it." Commander Droll made a sound the translator didn't catch. "The Confederation has misclassified human cognition," he said finally. "We rank your species lower because your thinking appeared random and emotional. We failed to recognize a different but equally valid form of intelligence." Yunji nodded. "Humans evolved on a planet with countless dangers and rapid changes. We needed to spot patterns quickly, even at the cost of occasional false positives. Better to run from a shadow that might be a predator than wait for complete certainty." While most Confederation species evolved in more stable environments, Joe added, "Understanding now. Careful, sequential thinking served them better." "Exactly," Yunji said. "Neither approach is superior. They're adaptations to different environments." Commander Drell straightened to his full height. "I have submitted your findings to the Confederation Science Council. They wish you to present in person, Dr. Kim. This discovery may change how we approach interspecies cooperation." As they left the lab, Jiho felt a weight lift from his shoulders. For years, humans had been seen as the lucky primitives of the galaxy. Now, finally, the data would tell a different story. The Confederation's Science Council chamber was enormous, with rows of seats rising high around a central speaking platform. Representatives from over 50 species filled the room, their murmurs creating a constant background hum. Yoonji stood on the platform, trying to stay calm. Jiho and Hannah sat in the front row with Commander Droll, offering encouraging smiles. The head of the council, a tall Nari with silver skin, called for silence. We will now hear from Dr. Yoonji Kim of Earth regarding human cognitive processes. Yoonji took a deep breath and began. Distinguished council members, for years, the Confederation has classified human thinking as primitive because it appears emotional and unpredictable. Today, I will show you that what you've dismissed as human luck is actually an advanced form of parallel processing. She activated the holographic display, showing the neural data from the crisis aboard the Unwavering Truth *. Human brains evolved on a chaotic, dangerous planet, she explained. We faced constant threats from predators, natural disasters, and climate shifts. Sequential thinking, processing one piece of information at a time, would have been too slow for survival. The display showed a simulation of early humans facing a hunting scenario with multiple variables: weather, prey behavior, hidden predators, and group dynamics. Instead, we developed the ability to process thousands of inputs simultaneously, making connections below the level of conscious awareness. The result feels like intuition or luck, but it's actually pattern recognition happening faster than we can articulate. She switched to comparative brain scans of humans versus other species. Most Confederation species evolved in more stable environments, where careful, sequential analysis was advantageous. Neither approach is superior. They're adaptations to different conditions. A Vexel Council member interrupted. If this parallel processing is so effective, why can't humans explain their reasoning? True intelligence requires awareness of one's own thought processes. Yoonji smiled. Actually, that's a feature, not a flaw. By processing information below the conscious level, humans can recognize patterns without the burden of consciously tracking every variable. It's efficient, even if it can't always be verbalized. She showed new data, Jiho and Hannah mentoring other crew members, teaching them to recognize subtle patterns. Furthermore, this ability can be trained and enhanced. Humans can learn to better articulate their intuitive leaps, and other species can learn to trust patterns they sense but can't yet fully explain. The chamber grew quiet as the implications sank in. A Bolian council member spoke up. This would require us to reconsider our entire hierarchy of cognitive abilities. Yes, Yoonji said simply. The Confederation has prided itself on pure logic and sequential reasoning. But the universe isn't always logical or sequential. Sometimes chaos requires a different kind of thinking. She showed a final simulation. Different species working together, combining sequential and parallel processing to solve problems neither could manage alone. Imagine the possibilities if we viewed these different cognitive styles as complementary rather than competitive. The logical precision of Suvian thinking, combined with the intuitive pattern recognition of humans. The meticulous analysis of Nari scientists enhanced by the creative leaps of human researchers. Commander Droll stood unexpectedly. Council members, as a ship commander, I value precision and logic. Yet during our recent crisis, these human officers saved my ship when all logical protocols failed. Their cognitive approach deserves recognition, not dismissal. The council chamber erupted in discussion. Some members appeared offended, others intrigued. The Nari council head called for order. Dr. Kim, your findings are unsettling to our established understanding. Yet the data appears sound. We will need time to process these implications. As Yoonji stepped down from the platform, Jiho whispered, "You did it." "We did it," she corrected. "But this is just the beginning." Commander Droll approached them. The council is resistant to change, but they cannot ignore evidence. You have started something important today, Dr. Kim, a new understanding of intelligence itself. 2 months after Yoonji's presentation to the Science Council, the Unwavering Truth looked very different. The bridge now had a new section called the Intuition Center, where 3 human officers worked alongside the alien crew. Commander Drayle stood at the center of the bridge, watching with satisfaction as his crew worked together in new ways. Captain Geo Park was now officially his strategic advisor, a position created specifically to incorporate human intuitive thinking into command decisions. Captain Park, Drayle said, "What do you think about the upcoming diplomatic mission to the Krell system?" Geo studied the star charts and reports, but he also paid attention to the subtle signals his mind was picking up, patterns in Krell communication, hints in their cultural history, even the timing of their invitation. The official reports suggest trade negotiations, Geo said slowly. But I sense something more urgent. They've changed their communication style recently, more direct, less formal. I think they're facing a crisis they're too proud to mention directly. Drayle nodded. In the past, he would have dismissed such an assessment as speculation. Now he valued it. I will adjust our preparation accordingly. Lieutenant Min, prepare contingency plans for emergency assistance. In engineering, Hana had established a new response team that paired human intuition with alien technical precision. When systems behaved strangely, human engineers would first feel out the problem, identifying likely areas to investigate. Then alien technicians would apply their detailed knowledge to those specific areas. The power fluctuations are coming from Deck 12, Hana told her team, running her hand along a control panel. It feels like a resonance issue, not a power supply problem. Her Vexel assistant nodded, no longer questioning how she knew. I will recalibrate the dampeners in that section. Throughout the ship, this new integration was showing results. Problems were solved faster, decisions were more robust. The crew faced unexpected situations with greater flexibility. On the observation deck, Geo found Yoonji looking out at the stars. She had been invited to remain on board as the ship's cognitive science officer. How's the new training program going? Joe asked. Yoonji smiled. Better than expected. We're teaching humans to better articulate their intuitive processes and teaching aliens to recognize when a situation calls for intuitive approaches. Any resistance? Some, she admitted. Change is hard, especially for species that value tradition. But the results speak for themselves. Their conversation was interrupted by a ship-wide announcement from Commander Drayle. All personnel, this is the commander. I have received word from Confederation Command. Based on our ship's improved performance metrics, they have approved the Human Integration Initiative for all Confederation vessels. Starting next month, human officers will be assigned to every major ship in the fleet. Jiho and Yoonji looked at each other in surprise. This was happening faster than they had expected. That's not all, Drayle continued. Dr. Kim's research has led to a formal reclassification of human cognitive abilities in the Confederation Species Database. Humans are no longer classified as emerging intelligences, but as intuitive pattern specialists, recognizing your species' unique cognitive strengths. When the announcement ended, Yoonji couldn't stop smiling. Do you know what this means? Humans will be sought after throughout the Confederation for our cognitive abilities, not just our physical capabilities. Jiho nodded. No more being the lucky mascots on alien ships. That evening, Commander Drayle invited Jiho, Hana, and Yoonji to his private quarters. A rare honor. When they arrived, they found a small celebration prepared, with food suitable for both human and Suvian biology. To new understandings, Drayle said, raising a glass, and to the recognition that true intelligence comes in many forms. As they celebrated, Jiho thought about how far they had come. What had once been dismissed as lucky guesses was now recognized as a valuable cognitive skill. It wasn't luck at all, just a different way of seeing patterns in the chaos of the universe. 6 months after the Human Integration Initiative began, the Unwavering Truth was on a routine patrol near the outer boundary of Confederation space. Jiho sat at his station in the Intuition Center, reviewing reports from other ships that now had human officers aboard. Suddenly, all emergency alarms activated at once. "Unknown vessels detected," called out the sensor officer. They appeared out of nowhere. No warp signature, no approach vector. Commander Droll moved to the center of the bridge. On screen, the main display showed 5 strange ships. They were black, with odd angles that seemed to change when you looked at them directly. They moved in patterns that made no sense, seemingly random accelerations, direction changes with no apparent purpose. "Hail them," Droll ordered. "No response, Commander," replied the communications officer. "They're not acknowledging on any frequency." One of the strange ships fired a weapon. A nearby Confederation outpost exploded silently in the vacuum of space. "Battle stations," Droll commanded. "All ships in the sector, converge on our position." The next hours were chaos. The alien ships moved unpredictably, making conventional targeting nearly impossible. Their attack patterns seemed random, without any logical strategy the Confederation officers could recognize. 3 more Confederation ships arrived to help. Together, they attempted to trap the invaders using standard combat protocols. But the strange ships always seemed to be one step ahead, as if they knew what the Confederation would do before they did it. "This isn't working," Jiho said, studying the movement patterns on his screen. "There's something familiar here." Hana, who had come to the bridge from engineering, stood beside him. "I see it too. The way they change direction. It's not random. It's like they're responding to something we can't see." Jiho nodded. "Commander, request permission to coordinate a new response with the human officers on all ships." "Granted," Droll said without hesitation. "What do you see that we don't, Captain?" "I'm not sure yet," Jiho admitted, "but there's a pattern. These ships aren't moving randomly. They're reacting to our tactical algorithms, almost as if they've studied us." Jiho quickly set up a secure channel to the human officers on the other ships. Together, they watched the battle unfold, sharing their impressions and feelings. "Their movements remind me of predator swarms from Earth's oceans," said a human officer from another ship. "Yes," Hannah exclaimed, "like how shark schools coordinate without obvious communication." Jiho felt the pieces click together in his mind. "They're using our own predictive models against us. Every time we follow standard protocol, they know exactly what we'll do next." "So what do we do?" asked Commander Droll. "We need to become unpredictable," Jiho said. "Each ship should act independently, following human intuition rather than standard tactics." Droll hesitated only a moment before nodding. "Inform all ships. Human officers will coordinate tactical decisions for the next phase of this engagement." The battle shifted dramatically. Instead of moving in coordinated formations, each Confederation ship began following the intuitive guidance of its human officers. They made unexpected turns, fired at unusual moments, and created patterns that followed no logical protocol. For the first time, the strange ships seemed confused. Their movements became less certain, their attacks less effective. "It's working," Yunji said from her station. She had been monitoring the neural patterns of the human officers during the battle. "The invaders can predict logical algorithms, but they can't predict human intuition." One of the strange ships exploded as a Confederation cruiser landed a direct hit. Then another. The remaining 3 alien vessels suddenly vanished, not retreating through space, but simply disappearing. As the emergency ended, Commander Drill turned to Jiho. "The Confederation owes you and your fellow humans a great debt today," he said, "but this is only the beginning. These invaders will return, and we must be ready." Jiho nodded grimly. "And when they do, they'll face more than just logical tactics. They'll face something they can't predict: human intuition."